We've taken some bit of time, but we want to start by informing the public that there is relative calms restored in the Greater Masaka region. It's important to let the public know that as we talk now, there is relative peace and security restored in the two Greater Masaka districts of Lwengo and Masaka. You are all aware the last incident, which was an attempt by the panga-wielding assailants, was made on Nachanzi Maria Yosefu, aged 61, in Chotera. And it is now up to 10 days with no incident of attack by panga-wielding assailants in these two districts. Even the threats of anonymous letters in the area have tremendously reduced. We, however, still have information that there are still some residents who are living in fear and frustration, but we would like to assure them that the joint security task teams are trying their very best to put an end to the senseless acts of violence that claimed a total of 26 innocent lives. The investigations still continue on additional 4 suspects, who include Kabuye Faizo, 27, Tamale Frank, 32, Musumba Bernard, 22, and Chirenga Badru, 47, were charged to court last Friday for the alleged murder of Kayemba. And in our expansive investigations, we also managed to round up 4 more suspects whose names we can't release. For now, we tracked them down and arrested them from Kampala in connection with the vicious killings. So, as the security agencies, we continue to maintain increased presence in these 2 districts and the neighboring districts in close coordination with local leaders, politicians, community groups, the media, among others. We are monitoring the situation and remain united in support for crime reduction and safety. Our major priority right now that there is a marked reduction in incidents of attack is us pursuing all investigative leads and tracking down some of the remaining culprits who form part of the vicious gang that was behind these attacks. So in our continued assessments and risk analysis, we have mobilized the community proactively to help prevent further harm to the elderly and other vulnerable persons. We've also given a number of security tips in the massive mobilization that our community liaison officers and political commissars have carried out. There was one of a political leader there, a local leader who was advocating for a strong arm of policing, rallying the locals to take up arms in form of to arm themselves with pangas, spears, bows and arrows. And we ask them to refrain from this because it can easily lead to further acts of violence. We want to assure the residents that we as the security agencies are doing everything necessary to further restore calm, safety and security. And there is no doubt with the amount of good work that we've done so far. So we want to ensure that everybody, including the family members who lost their loved ones, residents who lost their livelihoods, get total justice. Even the suspects whom we've arrested and charged to court, we are going to ensure that there is a very fair and speedy trial during the process of hearing. Just like our counterparts, you all remember very well that the late Haji Bulaimu Mwanga Chibirige, BMK, who was buried yesterday, was a friend of the police. That police booth, which is at Wampeo, and even helped us in coordinating security on the other side of Nakumat. So for us, he was a friend of the police, and we want to pay tribute to the family. He will be remembered for being a good friend to the entire police fraternity. He was very law-abiding and supportive of our community policing activities. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Now, yesterday, there was a lot going on regarding an incident which happened in Moroto, where there was a complaint of threatening violence from one called Lorika Matthew, after his worship, the Chief Magistrate Kapchorwa Teko Lokeris Godfrey drew a pistol and pointed it towards him following an argument at Mount Moroto Hotel. The investigations do continue. His worship, the Chief Magistrate, was bonded. But of course, we also come out strongly because when you look at the manner in which he was handled at our police station at Moroto, it was quite disturbing and unfortunate. As an organization, we expect the highest level of professionalism and customer care from every police officer in the course of their duties. So much as the other criminal case is being investigated, but we are also looking at the manner in which our police officers handled him after fully subduing him at the police counter, and we believe that these ones will be handled disciplinarily. We have noticed a dramatic spike in violence against border riders, and which has led to a number of aggravated robberies of borders and the subsequent murders of these riders. During the week, a total of 6 murders related to borders occurred, and this is quite worrisome. So we want to come out and caution our colleagues in the border sector to be very vigilant and cautious in the course of their duties. For instance, on the 4th of this month, we registered a case of disappearance of a businessman that later turned out to be an aggravated robbery and murder. The victim was identified as Masengere Vincent, a 35-year-old businessman of Mitete, Chambala Parish, Bukulula in Kalungu. He was last seen on the 31st of August after he hired a motorcycle registration number UER 410R from Segawa Michael to enable him proceed to the bank at Masaka and withdraw savings for the village circle amounting to 10 million shillings. We believe somebody learned about that trip, and he was actually waylaid. It is until after 5 days, that is on the 4th of September, that the body was discovered with the deep cut wounds on the head at Kabale Bugonzi, and the motorcycle was also abandoned near the scene, which means the clear motive was theft of cash, 10 million. We are investigating that matter. Then again, on the 7th of September, that is within the week, our police in Katugo, Nakasongola, registered a murder case of a suspected border rider. Up to now, we've not gotten the true identification of the suspect, as his documents were removed. When we visited the scene, we found that it's true he was a border rider, and upon examination, he had a deep stab wound at the left side of the neck, which means he was attacked from the back. We got an empty toolbox, a toolbox bag, a wire lock, and then the motorcycle was missing, which means it was robbed. Again, on the 11th of this month, our police in Masaka recovered the body of Mukasa Joseph, a 40-year-old boda rider of Chibuloka, Chijabwemi, Chimanya in Masaka. The body was found abandoned in a bush at Chabumba, Buunga in Masaka, and an exhibit of a hammer was also recovered at the scene, but the motorcycle was robbed. That very day, a second incident of aggravated robbery and murder of the motorcycle of Mawanda Kuzaifu, a 20-year-old boda rider, also took place and the body was recovered from the same place, that is at Chabumba, Buunga in Masaka. The motorcycle was actually robbed, and then an additional 2 incidents were registered in Chenjojo, where 2 bodies of bodas were found in Matiri Forest Reserve in Chenjojo district. It includes that of Chaligonza Patrick of Kagadi Road Stage, a resident of Chirogo LC1. The body was dumped in the forest and the motorcycle UFA 559C was robbed. In addition, another boda rider, identified as Aliguma Mande alias James, a 22-year-old boda rider of Chirogo LC1, was also hacked to death, and the motorcycle registration number UFD 231B, Bajaj red in color, was robbed. You remember at one time we had countered this kind of crime when we raided most of these shops in downtown Ndeva, Narukolongo, that were facilitating and glorifying these robberies because they were providing ready market. We've put out intelligence because these are atrocities that will not be tolerated. Our Directorate of Crime Intelligence, with where our flying squad is, have been dispatched to Chenjojo, where the crime, which is more of a hotspot, as well as Kalungu and Masaka. These are other hotspots in the theft and attacks against bodas. But we also want to urge boda riders to be vigilant. Like in most cases, these robbers come up with very luring trips over long distance, over isolated places like during the forests, very early in the morning, that is during very ordinary hours. So they need to be suspicious of persons who really come up with very lucrative trips, and they should really avoid isolated areas like Matiri Forest in Chenjojo. It is an area that gives opportunity for attacks, and you can't easily get rescue. So it needs for them to coordinate across all boda stages so that at least their movements can be well monitored. During the week, we had 2 gruesome murders. Gruesome murders of separate 2-year-old female juveniles by mentally ill mothers. This is an incident. These incidents are quite painful. One happened in Buikwe and another one in Luwero, where 2 separate gruesome murders by mothers upon their children occurred. For instance, on the 6th of this month at Chisala village, Buikwe, one Nachanzi Rachel, a 30-year-old mother, picked her 2-year biological daughter, identified as Chiza Sylvia, took her to the grandmother's house where she slit her throat using a knife. We managed to arrest Nachanzi Rachel, but upon examination she was found to be of unsound mind and further transferred to Butabika. Within the same week, on the 10th, a similar report was registered in Wobulenzi, that is at Bukolwa, Gwafa, Katikamu, where one only identified as Yudaya, 30-year-old, picked a hoe and cut her 2-year-old daughter to the neck, killing her instantly. That is Winnie Massey. You can, from these incidents, you can note that there is an acute, we face an acute mental health crisis in many parts of the country, and this is exacerbated by domestic challenges and other related challenges faced by such victims. Udaya was also taken to Butabika. But however, we've tasked the child and family protection officers to work closely with the psychiatrists for early warning signs of mental illness and the local council 1 persons. Remember, these are 2-year-old children who have a right to life, survival, and well-being. So ending their lives as early as that is quite painful. So for any life-threatening situations, we ask the public to call on the toll-free line for our Child and Family Protection Unit at Police Headquarters, that is on 0800 199 195. I repeat, 0800 199 195. Or they can even ring the head of that unit on the UTL line 0718 792 417. We also have an additional incident which occurred here in the city. A double incident of aggravated defilement on a 15-year-old girl victim by security guards. This incident happened at around 11 p.m. That is along Market Street Plaza in Nakasero, where a 15-year-old female juvenile who vends tea and coffee in the evening. That was, she continued to sell tea to some of those people who work during ordinary hours in town, that is 11 p.m. And as she approached the 2 security guards, that is respectively Otieno Kusein of Security Group Africa and his colleague Tazania Vicent of Protectorate SPC. They instead dragged her inside the gate and forcefully defiled her in turns. Then they chased her and onto the streets. The helpless victim was rescued by a good Samaritan and who found her around ShopRite and took her to Nakasero Police. We want to thank our 99 because they responded and arrested these 2 security guards. These are incidents which clearly reveal how girl victims are vulnerable and targeted by sexual predators. So we want to thank that good Samaritan and our 99. But again, this is a 15-year-old. And 11 p.m. is a very ordinary hour, even past the curfew of 7 p.m. by 4 hours. And then you find the guardian's parents still leaving a girl who is vulnerable as this, going out in the night like that. So we want to trace the guardian or parents and also interrogate them. Why should they place the victim in such a vulnerable position? Then during the course of the week, we managed to effect some arrests of those who were violating and flouting the provisions of curfew and the partial lockdown. A total of 1,387 persons were arrested, 728 were cautioned, 389 were taken to court, and 26 are still pending court. Motor vehicles, a total of 1,051 were impounded. We issued EPS tickets to 853 motorists. We cautioned 147. We still have 9 vehicles that are unclaimed. We also impounded 4,067 motorcycles, including border borders, out of which 2,859 were issued with EPS tickets. 796 riders were cautioned. 400 motorcycles are still parked at the station. Generally, those are the few areas of interest. We can do Uganda, then we get the questions, and then we wind up.